Hello there, my name is James Harrington. If Spanish football is for you, then this is the place to be. Today we'll be previewing the quarter-finals of Euro 2020 between Switzerland and Spain. Spain did it. They dispatched Croatia and made it through to the quarter-finals in what could be one of the games of the tournament. 5-3 after extra time. But on Monday night there was another cracking match between Switzerland and France, which was 3-3 after 90 minutes, went all the way to penalties, and the Swiss emerged victorious, setting up a really juicy clash on Friday in St. Petersburg between the Swiss and the Spaniards. Now, like my previous video with this, I'm going to look at some lessons learned from the match against Croatia and look ahead to the opposition, that being Switzerland. Now, Luis Enrique before the match against Slovakia said that Spain are like a bottle of cava waiting to be uncorked. And after 2 games, 10 goals, well, maybe Spain are well and truly fizzing. Now, I'm not going to take credit for that metaphor, but let's hope it's true. Lesson number 1. Alvaro Morata. Now, Spain's sluggish start to the tournament, a lot of criticism has been attributed to Alvaro Morata. Yet against Croatia, he put in a man of the match display. He was putting an all-round strong performance. Instrumental in the build-up play, coming deep at times to be part of that give and go. He was acting as that focal point, holding up the ball to bring the midfielders into the attack. He got a goal. He got the 4th goal to make it 4-3 for Spain. He did miss a header early on, but we can let bygones be bygones. At the end of the day, I feel like this match has reminded us to have some form of perspective on Morata, whether he is one of the top strikers in the world. Top European clubs have shelled upwards of £170 million for his services throughout his career. And Luis Enrique reminded us before the Slovakia match that only one player has had a better goal-scoring record than Morata after 41 appearances, and that's David Villa. That is elite-level company. Against Croatia, he really had a running battle with the Croatian defenders, and he came out on top time and time again. The goal he scored meant that he is now Spain's joint top scorer at a European Championship with 5, alongside Fernando Alonso. Maybe after this performance, Morata has silenced his critics. Lesson number 2, Unai Simon. And I mean, he conceded what was an awful own goal. Probably the worst own goal ever conceded at a European Championships. It was the 2nd longest goal ever scored in a European Championships, and it was an own goal. A 49-yard back pass from Pedri. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. With Simon, you just feel there's a mistake in him. And thankfully for him, he's had a get-out-of-jail-free card because it hasn't cost them the match, and Spain have progressed through to the next round. Now, you could say, was the back pass from Pedri too quick, too strong? Was there a bounce that took the ball away from Simon? But I think fundamentally, and the commentators were right, he was thinking about his next pass. So rather than focus on controlling the ball and dealing with it calmly. Now, Unai Simon, he did redeem himself as the game went on, especially in extra time when he denied Kramaric from making it 4-3, Kramaric being the Croatian striker. The ball at close range, he made an outstanding reactionary save. And I must say one thing about Simon is that I was nervous for him. Whenever the ball went back to him, I just thought, oh no, let's hope he doesn't make another mistake. But he was brave, he seemed unfazed, and he continued to play a key part in Spain's build-up play. At the end of the day, Simon is only 24 and he has the undesirable record of most mistakes in La Liga leading to goals. But you hope with youth on his side, he will gradually become more confident and mistakes like this won't happen again. Lesson number 3, Cesar Azpilicueta. Now, in my previous video previewing the game against Croatia, I said that Luis Enrique needs to make a decision about his right back. Is it going to be Marcos Llorente or is it going to be Cesar Azpilicueta? Now, with Cesar Azpilicueta, he made his debut for Spain back in 2013, made his last Spain appearance back in 2018. Yet at the European Championship, he started 2 of the last matches. And he's become really important for allowing the attacking players to have that freedom going forward, knowing that he's their insurance in that defensive line. Against Croatia, he also got the 2nd goal, a brilliant header from a Ferran Torres cross. When Croatia were pushing high, he was able to get himself into the box and surprisingly headed home the ball. Now with Cesar Azpilicueta, the one thing I will say in the first half, The one thing that I found alarming was that he was struggling when Spain were playing their higher line, especially when Croatia were breaking very quickly on the counter-attack, namely when Rebic was tussling with him out wide. But the one thing that really stood out for me with Azpilicueta, and it's another lesson that I said we've learned about Spain in the group stage where they were lacking leaders. Well, in steps Cesar Azpilicueta. And I'm thinking especially that moment when Unai Simon conceded that horrendous own goal, which we've already talked about enough, and I think it was him, either Koke or Busquets, that went over to Simon to comfort him, pick him up, help him dust himself off and regain his focus. That is really critical and important in the team. Not just his playing ability, but being that presence, being that shoulder and supporting his teammates. I think Cesar Azpilicueta is probably going to keep his space against Switzerland, and I think it's thoroughly deserved. Lesson number 4, the centre halves. Now, it's really interesting in football, and I'm surprised I'm talking about them, to be honest, is that one moment a player can be absolutely red hot on form, you have no concerns about them, the next match they have an absolute stinker, which is even more highlighted in tournament football. Against Croatia, Eric Garcia and Laporte were the favoured centre-back pairing to start the game, and when Eric Garcia went off, Spain were 3-1 up. Yet when Pau Torres came on, the game became 3-3 and Croatia was searching for a winner. Now, I'm not laying the blame solely at Pau Torres' door because, to be honest, I don't think either one of the centre-halves really had a good game. What can be said about Spain was it was really surprising how they became undone in the game against Croatia. This is a side that only conceded 1 goal in the 3 group matches and only conceded 12 shots. However, when Croatia became really physical, when they were bombarding the box with long balls and crosses, Orsic, Pasalic and Budimir seemed to be getting the better of the Spanish centre-backs. They did not look comfortable. Now, it must be said, Laporte and Pau Torres are lovely ball-playing defenders, heavily involved in the build-up play and can spray a variety of passes, long, medium or short. However, when the games become really physical, when they become particularly tough, they seem to be becoming exploited. And I'm thinking especially that goal by Poland, where Robert Lewandowski out-muscled Laporte to get the draw. Now, this is a weakness that I think Switzerland will exploit and something that Luis Enrique will heavily need to consider. Lesson number 5, embrace the chaos. Now, there's this really good opinion piece in Eurosport talking about this, saying how Spain have largely been defined by the conservative style of play, yet in the games where they've been more free, Croatia and Slovakia, they've really come alive. They've scored 5 goals in successive matches, giving them the most XG of any side at the tournament. It is fair to say that against Poland, against Sweden, they felt restricted. They felt like they were holding something back. But they've also demonstrated the ability to be free prior to the tournament. If you think about the game where they won 6-0 against Germany, to then turning it on its head and drawing to Greece. Now, when they embrace the chaos, as it were, they move the ball with much more speed, they play more vertically, they create more space, and electric players like Ferran Torres come alive because they have their artistic license and they put in excellent performances like he did against Croatia. It's all about a change in mentality for Spain, and if they were to do this, if they were to embrace the chaos, that is the type of football that gets Spanish football fans off their seats. Now let's talk about the opposition, Switzerland, and it's fair to say they surprised football fans around the world by beating the tournament favourites France on penalties. It's the first time in Swiss national team football history since 1938 have they progressed through the knockout stage of a major tournament. They did struggle in the group stage, only picking 1 point from their first 2 matches, but then beating Turkey in the final game to go through as one of the best placed third place teams. Consistent and competent are the words I'd use to describe the Swiss national football team. They made it consecutive round of 16 performance in the 2016 Euros and 2018 World Cup, losing to easily beatable opposition in Poland and Sweden respectively. With Switzerland as well, they do have a number of formidable players. I'm thinking of the likes of Granit Xhaka of Arsenal, Xherdan Shaqiri of Liverpool and Fabian Schär of Newcastle. Xhaka is clearly their key man, not just because he's the experience, not just because he's the captain, but against France he put in a phenomenal display with inch-perfect passing. And Shaqiri is another big player for them. Whilst he may not be a starter for Liverpool, he is known as the Alpine Messi, and he always seems to turn up for Switzerland at major tournaments with some incredible goals. Look, Switzerland are a good side. They're 13th in world rankings, and as well how they book their place at the European tournaments. They finished first in their qualifying group with 17 points after 8 matches, winning 4 of their final 5 games and keeping 3 clean sheets in that run. So let's think about how will Switzerland set up against Spain. So Switzerland tend to favour a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-1-2 and a 5-4-1 as well, moving between the two formations when they're attack and defence, using the wide players to operate as wing-backs. I think their starting 11 is likely going to be Jan Sommer in goal of Borussia Mönchengladbach, their left centre-back Rodriguez, who did miss that pen against France who could have made it 2-0, but apart from that he's very able at set pieces. The centre-half, Akanji, who at 6'1", packs a lot of strength and speed in defence and initiates a lot of their build-up play. And the right centre-half, Elvedi. Left wing-back is a really big threat for them in Zuba, who we've seen a lot of overlapping runs from him in the tournament, and he's got the most assists at the Euros with 4. Their deep-line midfielders of Xhaka and Frauler, and the right wing-back of Mbabu. Their attacking midfielder being Shaqiri, with the left striker, Mbolo, who scored against Wales, and their right striker, Seferovic, the big target man, whose goal record of 22 and 43 for Benfica. But they could call on Gavranovic, who's shown he's a very able sub when Seferovic has struggled, including that hat-trick in the final match for Euro 2020 against Liechtenstein. So how will Spain line up? To be honest, I think it'll be largely unchanged. Unai Simon in goal, Cesar Azpilicueta as the right back, the centre-half pairing of Laporte and Eric Garcia, because it seems like Luis Enrique does prefer Eric Garcia at the moment, but it's the left back where there might be a false change. Now, Jose Luis Gaya came in for the game against Croatia, and to be honest, I didn't understand why. He's seen prior to the tournament as Enrique's favoured left back. However, for me, Jordi Alba has been really strong, especially as a key attacking outlet this tournament, so it just didn't make sense. And considering Gaia went off with discomfort against Croatia, you're likely going to see Alba starting this one. The midfield 3 again remains unchanged: Pedri, Busquets and Koke, and the front 3 are Ferran Torres, who's got 2 goals in each of the has got a goal in each of the last matches. You've got Morata as that central striker, and Pablo Sarabia, a player who I've really come to appreciate. I think he's doing a really good job for them in the tournament, who got the equaliser in the match against Croatia, and he was really the star man in the first half, somewhat faded in the second. The only player that I think that could come in to disrupt that selection would be Dani Olmo, who was a really good impact sub against Croatia, but I think that would only be the case if there was some form of fatigue, considering the game went to extra time. So how do I think the game's going to play out? Well, I do think it's going to be a very exciting match. Spain lead the Euros tournament for attempts with 68, and Switzerland have 60, so there'll be a lot of attacking talent on offer. I think it's going to be a very physical match because Switzerland are second in the Euros for tackles with 63. Now, I've been quite conservative, quite cautious in the tournament so far, but I'm going to be a bit bolder for this one. I think Spain are going to win the game 3-1, meaning that they progress to the semi-finals of the Euros, and in that match they would have to either play Belgium or Italy. Very tough opposition. Well, that's it for this episode. That was my preview of Switzerland versus Spain. If you did enjoy the video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, and why not give the video a thumbs up? It's all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.